All right, welcome along to another episode of the DP Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Neil Sisson, and today I am very excited to be joined by three legends in the space, three very interesting humans who are all working in various different aspects of sort of decentralizing core media infrastructure. So that's cloud gaming with YOM, AI video compute, I suppose with Livepeer, and real-time chat with dTelecom. So with all that said, I would love to welcome to the stage Jorrit from YOM, Doug from Livepeer, and Igor from dTelecom. Hey, gentlemen, how's it going?
Yeah, good.
Hey, going great. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Thanks for joining me today. So we usually just start off with by going around the table, and if you guys want to just introduce yourselves and tell everybody a little bit about your backstory maybe and what you're working on right now. Jorrit, do you want to go first and then Doug?
Sure. Well, I started in the space actually in 2016. I was working for a traditional venture capital firm analyzing startups in the space, and one of the startups was a DeFi protocol. I don't remember the name, but this was early back in the days. And one of the appending slides was the valuation increase of Bitcoin. So I jumped on Bitcoin back in the days, and then with all of my student loans that I amassed over time. And then I outcompeted the market quite early on, and then took more risk. And then, obviously the market takes you back. But I got very inspired by the industry. I have a technical background by trade, so I have a business informatics background at the Utrecht University. So I'm actually from the Netherlands. And I've had a startup as well, like earlier on in the DPIN/AI space. It was a sensor, Bluetooth sensor, where you can connect basically your music playlist to the room that you're sitting in, and then would combine algorithmically would combine the taste of your preference plus your neighbor's preference, and then come up with the ultimate playlist. Wow. That was during my students' years, so I was pretty familiar with the tech stack, all of the complexity, the hardware related to it, etc. Then indeed I joined the VC company for about a year. So it was actually the VC that also took an interest in the project. And then for about 5 to 10 years, I started working for a lot of corporates to help them out on their entrepreneurship efforts, internal innovation, business modeling, business design. And then with a team, we would just growth market the hell out of these products. Sometimes a lot of success, sometimes it was more difficult because they are startups in the end, even though they're within a larger venture. Then about 10 years ago, 6 years ago. So 6 years ago, one of my friends from the students' entrepreneurship journey, he called me and he said, let's it's COVID right now. It's a big opportunity. Everyone is now sitting at home. So let's figure something out for the event industry, because the event industry was making a shit ton of losses because they had the burn rate of their people, but the events were basically completely, it was flatline, right? So everyone was looking for alternatives in the space. And we had so we basically iterated quite quickly a solution around it for pixel streaming events. So we made about $500,000 of revenues in the first year because of COVID. Wow. And we did the first TEDx talk with 12 avatars that we pixel streamed end to end. But most of our revenues was then spent on streaming costs. So we spent a lot of money into Jeff Bezos' pockets. So and Bezos probably didn't even realize that, but we realized that. So we felt the pain. And then we had to come up with a different solution. And the problem is, if you don't own your own data centers, you're going to pay massive margins on scaling a pixel streaming or cloud gaming protocol, especially because in the end, it's an edge surface, right? So you need to cater at super low latency to anybody graphically, globally, at scale. And we figured out that even our partners couldn't provide that at scale, right? So all of the events, we had to limit that to an X amount of people because otherwise the servers got overloaded. So the strategy forwards, because the industry is massive, right? Like lots of spending in edge GPU compute. So then we figured out, okay, if we build an architecture where we don't have to own the real estate, so we don't have to own all of these data centers, but we can service basically our clients at scale globally, that would solve everyone's problems. And in fact, if you build an architecture like that, then your latency also decreases, right? Because you have edge right with the end users. So that's what we built. We architected that actually already 3 years ago, but the first we're still locked into our existing pipelines, existing products, etc. So it took a little bit of effort to get out of that mentality. So we had to get rid of our entire services team that was just operationally servicing clients. So we got rid of that, so we could completely focus on the DeepIn side of things. It wasn't called DeepIn back in the days. So we've been working on that for now over 3 years, and the test network is live, so everything is operational. Unit economics is also proven, and we can now stream at a lower latency and 10 times lower cost than GeForce Now, Google, Azure, all of the parties out there. So it's really a very interesting case from a technological perspective. At the same time, we're fundraising, so we have 20 devices running globally. But we're now we ordered 1,000 more, and they are getting distributed via our partners, via web shops, to basically cater the retail demand for this. Now, what do you earn when you have one of those devices? It's very simple. You plug it into your PC. Your PC starts running those games. So it's basically a dumb surface, and it downloads automatically all of the binaries that are in demand in your area, and it starts streaming them to those who want to use the compute. What we save is we don't pay for bandwidth because users already have a bandwidth subscription. So there's no bandwidth cost involved. We don't need to cool anything. So it's also good for the environment. I know there's a lot of politics around that, but at least it caters to that. Electricity, there is an electricity component involved, but it's only like 15% of the total revenues that you will actually accrue. So our premise is about $400, $500 a month that you would be earning. If we rent the same capacity 24/7 from a cloud service, it will be $1,500 a month, right? So you can already see the strong delta. Right. That's already out there. So we're now with a team of 12 people building that. So I think that covers the introduction.
So the devices, it's a hardware node. So say I say like, well, I like the sound of making $500 a month, so sign me up. In a way, I mean, and then that node, does that node protect the games and everything that people near me want to play?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely isolated device. So by going for the hardware, you isolate it from your existing files, existing hard drive, etc. Because the network is different from cloud. So usually what happens with the cloud is you very quickly install all of the games from the nearby storage provider at high speed. Now, because we're running on a public network, that's not the case. So what we decided instead is we allocate way more storage right at the edge, right at somebody's home computer. Right. So that's why we package that into a device that already includes by default 1 terabyte of storage. So we just fill that up with all of the games that are in demand, and we rotate with other devices in the neighborhood. So there is a device aspect if you want to earn more money. On top of that, so the base system is $350, but if you want to increase your yield, you can purchase more licenses. The licenses are perpetual licenses, so you buy them one time and you can increase the amount of concurrent capacity that you can stream. Also depends on your rig setup, depends on your network conditions. We have tooling for you to check that out so you can know exactly how much money you're going to make.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I do need to have some sort of a GPU on my own machine, or is it literally just a bandwidth? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it's really a product catered towards gamers. So any gamer that wants to play less games or play on his mobile phone or wants to make money,
Right.
they can just plug that into their PC and
rig.
they can do that at night. They can do it when they're working, and it's plug and play. So you don't need to have any technical know-how.
Cool. And can I still use my computer while it's plugged in?
Nope.
Or is the computer? All right. Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
we really need to use your full computer because we also have basically a neural net so we collect a lot of telemetry from every host and also of every stream of every game. So if other activities are running on the background, we cannot practically assign workload to you, because if you decide to suddenly play Assassin's Creed or also streaming Assassin's Creed, it's going to interfere with the quality. So we need a dedicated setup.
Yeah, might make sense. Okay, thank you. Doug, do you want to give us a little bit about your backstory and what you're working on?
Sure. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm Doug Buchanan, one of the co-founders of Livepeer, which has been building the world's open video infrastructure since 2017, actually. We set out at that point to create a great open source video software stack to power applications that needed video streaming under the hood. And we have this big decentralized network of node operators that provide compute in order to do video transcoding on live streams. And for many years, that's been successful and built up applications that look like Twitch or YouTube use the Livepeer infrastructure under the hood instead of paying Amazon or Google Cloud in order to be their video infrastructure. And we power about 1 million minutes of unique video compute per day across top 10 global streaming apps. A lot of the leading Web3 social apps use Livepeer under the hood for streaming. And now increasingly in the last year and a half, the node operators on our network are using their GPUs not just to do video transcoding, but to actually run AI models and AI inference on video. That includes generating video from prompts, modifying videos, actually running new world models that let people generate interactive worlds that use a low latency live streaming stack, just like video does. And that's actually surpassed video transcoding as the highest fee generators and most popular jobs on the network. So just like all industries, video is being impacted by the future of AI, and our large global GPU network and node operators are putting their capacity to use. So can definitely get into all of that. Just a little bit on my background. I'm a computer scientist by background. My co-founder Eric and I have actually built 3 companies together over the last 15 years. Like pre Web3 and crypto. I'm a successful data infrastructure company that was acquired by Groupon. Became their data engineering team for a couple of years, and then we were working on this mobile publishing and video application that actually totally failed because we were initially building on the open APIs of Google, Twitter, Pinterest, and Facebook. And then all 4 of those platforms close their APIs, change their terms of service, and work directly with our users. And we're like, never again are we going to be rugged by building on big tech. And then it was in 2016 when Ethereum had just launched.
Exactly the same experience as you had with my previous company. So that's good to hear similar stories.
Yeah, after you get burned by one of those companies again, you're like, never again. So Ethereum had just launched as this open developer platform that let you sort of embed economic incentives into software. And we're like, okay, this is really cool. And sort of took us down the rabbit hole. And we set out on this mission to build a video infrastructure layer using sort of a blockchain primitives to coordinate the network. So I'll pause there for now, but happy to dive into all of that as we go.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear that. I do always get nervous when I'm talking to businesses. Over the years working as a fractional CMO, I've talked to a lot of businesses even pre-crypto, and it always makes me super nervous when you're that dependent on a external third party to where basically if they just decide to do something different in the morning, because I've been part of businesses like that too, where, an upstream provider of something just was like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. What felt like overnight, but was presumably a longer decision cycle for them. But yeah, it really just turns, you just turn your business completely upside down, and it's not a good place to be. Thanks, Doug. Igor, do you want to tell us about your backstory and what dTelecom is all about?
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. First of all, thanks for having me, and those two legends here as well. I was listening to Jared, and when you were saying about all the gaming hustle and just opportunities, I have my gaming PC just idling all the time. I just don't have time to play, and now I know what to do with that.
Nice.
I'm the same.
That's a cool thing. And okay, so a little bit about my background. I would say I'm in the space since 2017, I believe, with a couple of waves here and there. I came from originally big tech and large corporation, corporate world. I was working with Big Four, with KPMG and PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was working with large real estate and asset management companies like CBDR or NI Global, those kind of BlackRock type of big companies. And of course, with early stage startups. And probably my main venues are fintech, because I was launching the fintechs in the US, pretty successful. Actually, it was pivoted towards gamers as well, hardcore PC gamers. So that's one thing. Another thing, in cybersecurity and AI things. And at the end of the day, one of my big domains is gaming. So we are kind of touched that on both previous speakers as well. So this phrase, you can bring the girl outside of the Texas, but Texas stays with her. The same comes with gaming for myself.
It's a different expression here where I grew up. I think we have horses and water, but Texas and girls, sure.
Anyways, I think it's the same idiom in different languages. And anyways,
yeah.
You got what I mean. Anyways, so when it comes to big tech and everything, my previous big game was an RWM. Because I came from big business and asset management companies and everything, I was always close to this, say, real life examples and application for tech. And that's my previous thing was head of marketing and Lumia as a big RWA chain. And here I am in Livepeer right now, because it's same type of thing, because you actually can implement tech and blockchain in real life and see how it goes. And when it comes to dTelecom, it's pretty wild thing, to be honest. We do the B2B decentralized real-time communication. So basically, it's a network infra that we're building for any builder, any company who has their core and just building any video voice communication layer, and we provide that service to them. So and because we're doing it on Solana, we're backed by Solana Foundation, grants from Google, PIC, 11 Labs, all those sorts of cool guys. And when it comes to not just about the layer and the infrastructure, we're also pretty rich with AI features. And that's why also my background with data science and other stuff came into play as well. So it's not just about providing video from user to another. That's just the baseline. When it comes to cool things that we already have is that, I don't know, imagine real-time voice and text recognition to 30 languages plus right now. So in any video conference, you don't have any problem. I think Google announced it to have it in 2 years from now or something like that just recently. We have it right now. So you can just talk, with Japanese guys or, I don't know, Portuguese guys and just instantly understand each other. At the same time, it's AI moderation. Probably this, random problems that when Pump Fund launched their own streaming platform, and a bunch of different random guys ran and launched the streams, and then there's such a problem with moderation. Again, if you were launching any live stream, the moderation, just showing video is just the the baseline. You have a lot of other levels of supporting that product. Or what I personally love a lot is the live streaming AI agents. Imagine you're doing the stream for edutainment, and you have a co-host AI agent of Albert Einstein asking you different bunch of cool questions and quizzes to the chat or something. And you can create like a lot of different weird ideas. And as I said, because it's B2B, and B2B is always long-term relations, long-term deals, and because we are supplement in many cases the core product for the clients that we are building with, we need to show off, we need to show the consumer like front-facing products that our infra is actually used for. And that's why we have two B2C products. The first is dMeet. It's basically Google Meet, just decentralized open source with all the cool stuff built in. AI translation, for instance, is live. It's free, up to 10,000 people as consequent users. If you have that kind of corporation, feel free to use that. And also, like every minute that you're working in, you just get points because it's Web3. At the end of the day, it will be transferred into the tokens. And the second one is a live streaming platform called Froggy. And again, because it's decentralized, it's super cheap. And what we can and do is kind of change the creator account. We will talk about it later probably, but we provide 90+% of all the revenue back to streamer. Not like 20, 30, 50 as a Twitch or other one, depending on your geo. That's what we do. And it's instant because it's Solana and USDC, so instant withdrawals, no problems, no holdups, no middleman. And what's more important,
what's that called? Froggy?
Froggy, yeah, Froggy. Froggy, yeah. Froggy.com. It's live again. Like that's one of the things that we are so proud of, is to show off the tech. Like you can go and check how it really works. And I think one of the important things about the live streaming is Froggy specifically is that all the transactions, all the tips, all the subs, every donation within that is an on-chain transaction. So that's how the Froggy actually comes into play with all this Web2 adoption, because all the streamers that we have, all the viewers that we have right now is just a regular Web2 girls, guys, singing, talking, playing guitars or cooking, whatever they do online. And people who come, they just tip it through the, Apple and Google Pay. They don't even realize that it's actually on-chain, and all things are transactions on Solana. So that's, in a nutshell, what dTelecom is about. Like we provide this infrastructure for everyone to come and build their own Zoom, to build their own Twitch, to build whatever they want. And because it's not just one dApp, it's a universe ideally for this decentralized infrastructure that can build a lot of cool video and audio products on us.
So Igor, can I ask a question? Because you have so you have the infrastructure, right? And then there is a middleware component, and then you have an SDK which is for the dev, right? So if the dev wants to build, let's say, a video app or a conferencing app, they use the SDK to integrate that.
Exactly. So like it's SDK and API ready. So like whatever it's Web3 or Web2 product, you just take it and use it. We have a couple of clients already doing that, a lot of pilots on the back that's going on. But basically it's just infrastructure. You need video, voice, a network, feel free to use it. Cheap, fast, DPIN, everything,
And then it's the nodes, they provide bandwidth in your case, right?
Exactly. So it's a little bit kind of not a tricky, like with a twist. So like we address all the node holders as our clients. So in our case, our client, they can use the cloud, like the existing network with zero expense. Or if they want specific servers, say in Latin American specific city for the latency and everything, they can run their own server, and then they become a part of the network as themselves.
Right.
So they are interested in maintaining that server because it's their own business. At the same time, they get like a 75% of the revenue if other one uses the same server as they have. So that's how we work with.
That's
those.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And for Livepeer, is that the same, or is it different, or what's the? Because you guys are also doing video streaming, right?
Yeah, the Livepeer protocol network under the hood is primarily a compute network. So our node operators are bringing GPUs. And in the case of video transcoding, they could use the old traditional gaming and mining capable GPUs like the NVIDIA 1070s, 1080s, because they all happen to have ASICs on those boards that can only encode and decode video. They're called NVENCs and NVDECs. And so actually without disrupting their mining or their gaming, those chips could be put to use to do video transcoding on the network. And they would earn ETH that users were paying for the compute essentially under the hood, and they'd also earn the Livepeer token.
Right. So then you guys can collaborate, right? So then Igor provides the bandwidth, and Doug, you provide the GPUs, right?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think it's
do some deals.
It's a problem win-win here. I agree. I actually had a question about like Srijit about the games that you provide with your hardware. I was working with like biggest companies in gaming like Blizzard, Riot, all of those guys, and I would when I was building one of the biggest, probably the biggest game tech like loyalty program for PC gamers, and it was a nightmare when it comes to any regulation, private, like it's just nightmare. How you cope with that? Like what kind of licenses do you have on your hardware to make it work?
Yeah, that's an essential bit, because in the Solana ecosystem you also have Shaga, for example. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shaga. Shaga, they're C2C almost, right? So they're B2B. They facilitate C2C peer interaction. We're B2B entirely, right? So that means that we service to publishers directly. So they pay us. So it's very simple. You have a portal and you deploy any app, any game, right? You get one line of code and it's up to you to integrate it into aggregator platforms. We have a list of aggregators, of partners where you can aggregate your stream. So you can aggregate it on games.gg, you can aggregate it on your Discord server, Telegram, lots of different locations, your own website. And then that aggregator acts as the portal, right? So your website can be the interface to the network, similar to a YouTube embed, right? Okay. Whereas with Shaga, it's more like, okay, you set up, and then you get into the difficulty of the licensing, because then you have maybe like some games on your PC, and you say, okay, I borrow my games to other players. And then it becomes really tricky, because then other people can play from your PC. Now, the funny part is, if that interaction is free, then it's legal. But the moment you facilitate that and you earn money out of the facilitation, then that becomes really difficult to protect.
Copyright infringement.
Distribution licensing. So that's why we said, okay, we're going to start entirely from a B2B point of view, because that's the only way to get the licenses work in the industry. And then solve for them the distribution issue, right? So it's like, okay, how do you get users to play a demo of Assassin's Creed immediately from Facebook, right? Like ideally, you imagine on Facebook, you're scrolling or whatever, or on TikTok, and you see, hey, Assassin's Creed, click, and you can play the game. You can cast it to your Chromecast. So we solved that. So that is already there. It's just, okay, we need to integrate with way more aggregators, right? Because every aggregator means more visibility, more eyeballs, more reach for the publisher. So that is the key channel. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are, Igor, with the gaming industry. It sounds like you have quite some knowledge there.
Yes, I do. I Even though like when I work like within the space with the Web3 space and everything, like I still keep on watching streams, I keep on reading some news, what's going on. So like it's just a natural interest in
right. Okay, it's personal interest, not or also professional.
Both. It's both. It was like a professional thing. Even when I'm not in gaming, I'm still kind of taking like a look at the industry as well.
Nice. Yeah. It's very hard place at the moment because you see a few monopolies like Steam taking 30% of all of the revenues. They decide with the algorithms which games get published, which games get distributed and marketed. So the publishers are basically, and there's no real point anymore, because what a publisher does, it's they put you on Steam and they do a little bit of marketing, but it's mostly about paying all of the Steam marketeers off so that the game gets listed and gets the banner ads. Right, like that's.
I think the same problem happens with the like coming back to the main probably topic about the creative economy. I think the same thing happens with the creators as well. Like if we talk about the centralized platforms, whatever it's Twitch, whether it's Bigo Live, whatever type of streaming you're talking about, you don't own your content. You're extremely dependent on new regulations, TOCs that change in every single quarter or like even month. And at the end of the day, sometimes up to 75% of the earnings that I'm as a creator getting is stays with the platform for different reasons. It depends on the geo, depending on a lot of different stuff. And that's, I think, and again, because I'm I don't stream myself, but I'm a kind of professional consumer of the streamer. Of the creator, I don't understand how they survive. I'm not talking about like big stars for like in industry for like 15 years. They're established, they're fine, they have their own IPs probably, even though not just income from streaming. But if I'm a new creator, especially right now, if I'm doing some of my cool stuff, cosplaying, doing some food, I don't know, drawing, whatever, singing, doesn't really matter. I want to get my own content. I want to control what's going on with my content. I want to control my own fans and not to spread it across the other ones, or especially platform, and to get them banned or demonetized or whatever it is. And I'm not even talking about the random bans and random TOC changes every single day. So that's why one of the reasons why we did build Froggy as a front-facing product is to show that creator economy can be different, that you can keep like 90% of your earnings with you. You can control your fans, you can control your stuff. And the same goes with what you're saying about the gaming, because publishers and IP owners I was working with, right, they're good. But even like a small tiptoe into any regulational angle with them is just a nightmare.
Yeah, and what you see with especially the indies, like the smaller creators, as you said, is they have to look for other routes, right? So they have to maybe run some sort of crowdfunding Kickstarter campaign first, right? So what we allow, we have an integration with Kickstarter where you can just embed a demo of the game directly on Kickstarter. So you don't need to distribute any binary, which is also a tricky thing, right? If you start distributing binaries, people will immediately start ripping assets. So you need to first think already about the DRM and the security before you need your users, your testers, to sign an NDA, or they sign some terms of service that they cannot rip the assets. But there's a lot of risk involved. And by running that on a decentralized cloud or cloud, that doesn't really matter. You ease the distribution and you go to a way more iterative approach to that. Now, the thing that has been really harmful, I think, for cloud gaming, that's why cloud gaming has never taken off. There's a massive curse on cloud gaming right now that has all to do with the way it's being handled and executed in the business model. So the nice thing about having the game in an embed and that you can just put it on any location is that it's super liquid and anybody can access it. Just like with YouTube, you can put your YouTube video, you can share it with your friends, they can immediately start playing. So we have an integration also with Telegram, so people can play AAA quality content games inside of Telegram immediately without downloading anything. But the problem is that what all of these companies started doing, they thought, okay, it's not about the infra, it's about the app, right? So so they started to build their own app around it, like Google Stadia, for example, or GeForce Now, and then monetize and gate the access to it. But any hardcore gamer already has a gaming PC. And they're not going to bring their games to a platform where they have to pay $30 a month to play those games, because it's a chicken and egg. If you don't have the games, you wouldn't go to the platform. If you have the games, you have the gaming rig, right? So the expectation.
I think they try to do this kind of wider adoption, at least on like on the paper, because even I think yesterday I was watching the new video from Linus talking about GeForce Now or something, like a recent video from Linus Tech Tips. And they were assessing the quality, latency, all of that sort of stuff.
That too.
It's kind of getting better, like compared to 4 years back or whatever they compared previously. But I mean, I think that's the same. What you're talking about and what they try to achieve is the same as what we try to do with not just us, but like the progressive streaming and infra trying to do, is to keep that sub-second latency and access and usability, but at the same time not trying to gate the user, right?
Yes.
And they try to like bring Mac users to like PC gaming, which kind of still sounds insane, apart from like 2-3 games that you can run on Mac. But at the end of the day,
I have friends who are big gamers and who will not own a PC. They just there's one guy in particular, he's a developer, and he has these super elaborate ways to play PC games essentially on his Mac.
On his Mac.
Basically, he's external graphics cards and cloud services and all sorts of stuff.
Right, but because he's a developer, he probably hacked his Mac. It's running Linux and then it's emulating Windows somehow on it.
Yeah, exactly. But some really convoluted,
extremely motivated to make it happen.
Yeah,
I mean, really, like,
not an average guy. Granted,
for sure. It's a journey.
I want to go back to the creator economy point for a second, if we could, because like one thing that I've always felt is very important is to recognize the difference between like the creator economy and economics, and then the underlying economics around the infrastructure that enables these applications that are built on top of. And I think a lot of times new projects especially try and thread the needle and combine those things when they're actually inherently disconnected. Like the value proposition of an infrastructure, whether it's bandwidth focused or compute focused, should be to be, cost effective and highly performant and highly reliable, right? Like that's what developers and application builders need in order to deliver a good experience. And then all of these promises that decentralization and digital assets can enable around things that Igor was talking about, like better economics for the creators, more transparent revenue splits. Those can also be, enabled by this type of technology, but they're inherently disconnected from the
it's
infrastructure costs.
It's a different vertical. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so I think, like, when I think about a lot of those promises, like, okay, creators will be able to keep 90% of the content and the big platforms are exploiting them. Candidly, we've seen hundreds of these applications making these promises built on top of Livepeer over the years. And the ones that just try and do, let's say, a Twitch clone, but with better creator economics, often struggle with their business model and don't survive, right? Like the creators actually care about the distribution or the quality of service or the audience far more than they care about like the promise of the revenue split, because there's no revenue represented to begin with.
The network effect. Yeah.
Right. But the ones that actually are interesting and succeed. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add that it's a question of a chicken and egg, like, because at the end of the day, creator cares about the audience and the audience cares about the creators. If the platform, whatever cool, and you're right with that, like the infrastructure and the cool promises that, including us, like I don't want to say like we try to reinvent the wheel in some ways, but at the same time we say the same things. Like we give you a lot of cool USPs. This is the rev share. This is that. This is privacy. This is centralization. Whatever it is, we provide infrastructure that's super fast, reliable, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it comes into the viewers versus streamers and the quality of the stream and the quality of the user base that's ready to pay that creators. And this is the biggest and the most challenging point for any live streaming platform. And we are struggling with at the same time. I'm doing that every single day, trying to overcome that, trying to give opportunity to streamer at the same time to bring the audience. And it's costs, it's time, it's efforts, it's network, it's all that. And I think 90% of the platforms that die and not capable of actually crossing that critical point, the checkpoint, is that they just don't have the network, they don't have the connections with agencies, the connections with streamers, the connections with the audience as well, to actually make that work. Because the baseline of the infrastructure is important, but if you don't have people,
but I think, Doc, your point is also by combining the two, you create an exponential amount of complexity. Because not only do you have a super complicated infrastructure business, now you also have this super complicated, and then you combine them and it becomes exponentially complex, right? So then your story on your website fails because you don't know whom you're targeting. Your story to VCs fail. So it's almost like you need to completely decouple the two and say, okay, infrastructure does only that infrastructure and maybe some tooling or some pipelines to easily deploy on it, some APIs. But ideally, it should be as API first everywhere, right? So there it's almost like a bare bones specialized infrastructure. Now the difficulty is that all of us are building infrastructure, but they are specialized infrastructures, right? And in order to make the specialized infrastructure succeed and to create the use cases that our investors are screaming for, them, like, oh no, we need the app, we need the killer app, right, on top. We also have to think about the entire vertical on top, right? So all of the complexity of the infrastructure is in our mind. And then we also have to solve basically all of the specific domain problems because the devs building on our infrastructures don't know what is possible. And that makes it incredibly fun and intellectually stimulating because you're thinking, oh, this is possible and you can do this. Like very creative opportunities, but it also becomes a mess, or at least has the risk to become a mess unless you decouple it. Like
it's a broad product and go-to-market surface, right? You're
exactly.
actually executing on multiple different.
But there are also expectations from the VCs, right? They want to see, okay, how many users do you have onboarded on your infra, right? Then they're already assuming, okay, there needs to be an application on top. Well, our metric is not users, it's consumption from businesses, right? And it could be a few deals that you do. It could be 3 deals and you're done, right?
It's okay though. There's a broad universe of investors or VCs who only do B2B, right? And they specialize in that and they want that, right? So I think there's an importance to have an alignment between your stakeholders and your mission.
I wanted to say that we are facing kind of we're going the same pathway. Like we have the B2B infrastructure. We know that it's actually available right now. Like anyone can just use API or SDK to build their own Zoom, for instance, or live streaming platform, Twitch, whatever they want. But because it's a core tech for the customer, they need to be sure about the quality, the uptime, the latency, everything, the capacity of the system, that it won't fail when it would be like a hot Friday and 2.5 million people consequent users on streaming that won't die out, right? Because it's revenue for them and everything. I'm not even talking about the reputational angle of it. So you still, as you said, you have to have the showcase that, hey, by the way, Infra actually capable of doing this and that. And that's why we are actually having our own decentralized meeting service, our own
exactly, and that's the problem because building that is basically a separate team, and then you don't want to do that, right? Because you want to focus on building the network resiliency and performance and quality, and then you also have to deal with centralized cloud services. They're extremely expensive, but they provide massive grants as well. For example, Google provides $300,000 of compute, right? So their strategy is always to onboard. They have basically the capital to sponsor and take away all of the, and they build a lock-in fundamentally. They build a lock-in, And then it becomes harder. It becomes a business case suddenly for those parties that have already built on Google to then migrate away and use a more specialized service. So that is the challenge. And I think the only way to, well, maybe it's probably not the only way, but the way that we solve it is by going even more vertical, by saying, okay, yeah, of course, like our solution can be used for LLM as well, and we can do generative video creation, and we can do this X, Y, Z. But that's why we said, okay, forget about that. We're just going to completely optimize it all the way through, very vertical towards the solution of just, you have a binary, you deploy it, and you get an embed. That's it. And then any aggregators, up to you, man. It is like, we don't care what you do with it. You now have Assassin's Creed. You have your game, and you can embed it everywhere. But what we do see in the industry is that they need more support, right? Like they need us to then tell them, okay, well, you can actually integrate this in Reddit. You can make it an ad. You can, right? You can get that consulting layer on top that you don't want to have because you want to focus on the protocol. And I think that's the fundamental crux that we are all struggling with on how to solve that.
I think it's a question of just early adoption, like in any other industry as well. So like if we have the same thing, like we're coming and talking to your streamers and saying, hey guys, you have that AI cool co-host thing. You can build your own AI agent. What's that? Oh, imagine this and that. You have a co-host, you have Albert Einstein, whatever figure you want to have, or you have an AI agent talking to your chat while you're sleeping, or you even have an AI agent who can stream while you sleep. Whatever different weird shit you have in mind, you can do this. And by educating, that's how this adoption happens. And then there's just a focal point when everybody, oh, okay, I can do this. I can replicate that stream. I can replicate this. But I think still at the end of the day, B2B, ideally, we would just want to, as you said, focus just on one vertical, which is doing the infra, which is doing as much as flawless as possible, not trying to, look at the B2C angle, not trying to talk to streamers, etc. But we have a team. This is our pathway. It's not ideal probably, but at the same time, that's how we work. We have a team of people who understands those verticals of B2C products that we're building as a showcase, right? And then we want to, and it's still a lot of money, to be honest, like streaming. I'm not talking about Twitch. I'm talking about like those mid-tier live streaming things that cost like $2, $5, $8 billion each. And it's just super random girls talking about their food they like and what kind of songs they like to
people
hear.
Like that stuff though. People
and
like
it's
it.
Insane. It's like, and if you have just a decent, I'm not saying like we want to reinvent and just beat every single platform out there, just to show the decent outcome for our own streaming platform. 55,000 of other ones would try to build on us just because they have this use case. It's hard way, but this is the way how we're doing.
No, exactly. And I think then the biggest barrier, right, for a creator is, okay, the opportunities offered, usually temporary opportunities by the centralized services. Saying that, centralized services, they do because of the breadth, right? So if you use Azure, for example, for streaming, usually lots of companies already are using Azure under the hood, right? They're already familiar with it. They have received the credits. Now, it's pretty simple for them to just spin up another server and then use that for streaming. And they consume maybe like free credits, maybe it's paid. But on the long term, because the way Azure and AWS, how they handle all of that is by making the actual product super expensive, right? Which is on the long term an opportunity for us, because at some point they have to pay, right? And then it makes more sense to do that on our infrastructures, which are by a factor of 10x cheaper and have a higher quality in terms of latency than the centralized equivalent. But it's a hard case.
I think there's a different answer to this question if you're talking about a commoditized service like streaming, right? Where there are, 30-year-old businesses that offer this at really high quality, and switching between one or the other doesn't bring too many different value propositions. Versus if you're looking at a more emergent technology, like let's call it AI video as the example here, where it's not so commoditized and the services that are offered by these big cloud providers are not comparable and table stakes. Like, for example, they're all these services are offering different proprietary models that have different terms of service, rate limiting, trust and safety controls, price points, etc. Right? And we found a big opportunity here in the DPIN space, the tokenized asset space, is actually around open source and community, where people can actually run the latest open research models, do what they want with them, access them in a pay-as-you-go way, regardless of your access to compute.
Right, but then the creator is not a business. It's more like so what you're talking about is more B2C then in that case, right?
No, because application developers, like, you can only build a certain type of business if you're built on top of OpenAI and ChatGPT API, versus if you want to experiment and train and tune your own model on top of the open research models and everything, then you have access to different capabilities.
Probably safer as well, because it's open.
Safer in the sense that you don't risk getting deplatformed or having terms of service change on you, right? So these value propositions actually represent something more meaningful than in like a commoditized industry, like maybe just bandwidth or compute for video streaming purely.
There's still a lot of problems to solve, though, right? Because nascent technology, some of the decentralized platforms, I think, are like, I spoke to Akash last week, and they were saying, it's very simple to migrate over from AWS, for example, because it's a similar thing, and that's one of the ways that they want to try and acquire users, presumably. However, there are still some of the features that you may rely on AWS that aren't quite available yet. They're in the works; they'll be available someday, but maybe they're not there just yet. So.
If you're launching your business and say we have to have every feature that AWS offers before we can compete, you'll never get there, right? It's 1,000 different services that have been developed over many years. Of course.
I guess that's why people specialize, or businesses rather specialize.
And Neil, you had a Beamable also on one of those events, right? Yeah. So what Beamable does is they focus on a B2B kind of like microservice ecosystem, because they feel like, okay, they cannot compete with all of the solutions. And so their general compute, their general gaming backend compute, and there are a lot of things, a lot of modules. So they built that also from almost like a federated perspective, where you can just build your apps on top of the ecosystem and you can just plug that into your particular game. I think that's the other way to try and beat it, right? So there are two strategies in some. You either become hyper vertical and like you solve that problem and you make that a success, or you say, okay, we like let those app developers build their own microservices on top. But then you do need a lot of capital to build these, to have these, have this ecosystem built. And what happens in practice is that the company itself is going to build its own microservices, because you need to put the incentives in place in order to have people move. That's the.
I think one of the kind of winning strategies to my taste is that out of all the microservices and all the offering that AWS, for instance, have and provide, when we talk to the potential clients or existing clients and just people in space, you just focus on the very core thing that everyone is suffering or not, like pain points, whether it's low latency, whether it's bandwidth, whether it's extreme cost efficiency. And when you can focus on, say, like 3 things, and you can provide the high quality of those, and you can cover that, then you will go and sell it to 50% of the market. It's like, I will give a really random example, but a lot of, probably everyone here is using or use Slack as a corporate messenger, right? But Slack is like a universe of complexity that exists, right? Like you can basically do everything you want with it. but 95% probably of people who are using Slack, they're just using threads and just text messages. That's it. They don't care about all the rest of it. Like if you can compete with Slack with all the core things that they actually do, you're covering like at least 50 or 60% of everything. That's, I think, that what we are trying to do with dpin, because we are extremely efficient. We can, distribute the information, distribute the costs across the node holders and everything, do it fast, do it, efficient. And find those clients, because 80% of those, they actually care about this, and not those like microservices of AWS. So like, we're not trying to compete with them. It's just, where we at and where the AWS. We just need to be as good as is possible at very, very core of service we provide. I think that's the key answer here.
Do you think is it fair to say that there's better, because of the nature of just decentralized technology, is there better or worse, do you guys think, like digital rights management for creators? Say like I'm creating content, or, I know that's a very broad question because of different like types of what might fit into the bucket of creator. Obviously a game developer is going to take that a lot more seriously than a YouTuber, for example. But just at a general level, do you think there's better DRM?
Yeah, honestly, I think the governance model matters more here than the technology. So I could provide a dpin or decentralized architecture, but as long as my company is still a centralized company, and there's some nuance, there's some subtleties where you can say, okay, yeah, I'm not providing the storage and I'm only facilitating, I'm not moderating, but that's already a strategy that you have parties like Mega Upload and all of them are already doing. So you don't need a decentralized technology or architecture to be able to do that. So on the governance level, that is the case. So if you're structured like a DAO and you're able to deliver, and I think that's like, it's a sacrifice, right? So either you go for, we're a centralized company entirely, right? So we have our stack, we're based in the UK, we have an operating company in the Netherlands, and we operate like a company. That keeps us highly focused on our customers without interference from the outside. But let's say you are able to operate as a DAO, you've managed, you found your way there, then yeah, in terms of digital rights, then you have the edge, because then it's purely getting governed by on a protocol level, and there's no company under the hood, because it's completely running on a network of people that are not accountable in any way of the content getting distributed. But that really depends on the governance level, and then rights management becomes really easy for creators, because they can literally distribute any type of content on these kinds of networks. But we're really focusing on the compute part. So the compute part, in terms of efficiency and latency and distribution, originally we were already running on AWS for our clients, so we want to solve that part of the equation, right? There are other folks that are very strong on the DAO and the governance side, and they've solved that part. And maybe at some point they can collaborate, but it's almost like a completely separate world. It's a different philosophy, different worldview.
I think I will just add a couple of words to that. I agree to what Jerry just said. The thing with the creators, I believe, and especially it was obvious with the latest TwitchCon, and probably everyone heard about this whole drama that happened there. I think is that centralized platforms are big enough to just abandon, especially like mid and small creators, because they don't care about them a lot at all. And the centralization and the platforms that prioritize creators, they can feel that they're actually mean something, that they can rely on smart contracts, they can rely on TOCs with the decentralization, that in a year from now, when they invest their time, their efforts, money sometimes into what they do, will pay off. And not because, something would randomly change tomorrow. That's what we see when a lot of people from Twitch, they went to Kick because of this whole thing as well, right? Trying to kind of protest all the TOCs that was happening. I think it's not about the technology specifically, but the transparency that the decentralization is given to those like smaller and mid-tier creators. That's what I think. And and the cut as well. Like money also matters a lot, for good and for bad. Like it is what it is.
So do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up?
On the content rights management, I would just say I think the primitives are available to solve for sort of better content protection and value exchange for a digital first type of content. When you think about smart contracts, you think about transparency, you think about cryptography, authentication, these sorts of things. All those primitives are there and powerful. But I don't think just out of the box, if you're trying to defend against your old world view, that someone has to like pay in order to listen to this particular sequence of bits as an audio file. I don't think we have perfect productized solutions that solve that problem automatically. Just yet, people have to build sort of new paradigms for how you get access to and own and distribute content for a digital first world. And I think these tools help us do that.
Yeah, I think it's certainly an area of change, and will be, I'd say, for the considerable future with AI and some of the things I've seen anyway about the types of development in that area with, I don't know. I just think it's a very exciting time, but I'm glad I'm not a musician or whatever at the moment, because you'd have to really, I feel like things have gotten harder in some ways, and there's probably a lot more work in it now than there used to be. Anyways, guys, that's us at the top of the hour. It's been a very, very interesting conversation. I'm immensely grateful to all of you for coming here and sharing your wisdom. Do you guys want to just maybe tell everybody where they can follow you, get involved with the project, if there's a website URL that you want them to go to, etc.? Maybe you go first, and then Doug. And
yeah, sure. So you can go to YOM_official or YOM.net. We have our TG the 9th of December. This month there will be a pre-sale of the Nano. So we have 20 users of it already. End of the year we have 1,000 getting distributed via our webshop partners, freshminers.com. So also follow them out. We'll be distributing coupon codes, so you can use those coupon codes to get a discount on one of those Nano boxes. And it's a plug and play solution. You don't even have to have a Web3 experience around it. You just plug it in your gaming machine. You run one of our quick scan tools, checks whether the machine is eligible, your network is eligible, and then you can get started.
Cool. Yep, sounds good.
Great. Yeah, and if you want to learn more about Livepeer, visit livepeer.org and join our Discord, which is sort of the beating heart of the community. And if you want to see the latest and greatest in sort of live video AI and actually play with modifying your webcam video via prompts and stuff, check out daydream.live. There's a really great playground there and a bunch of the latest AI models and video running for people to try out.
Cool.
I will definitely do that.
If you're a developer, like a B2B client, so like feel free to go to dtelecom.org to check everything about our infrastructure and APIs and SDKs you can use. And if you want to see how things are working, just touch that. Feel free to go to dmeet.org. It's our like free to use decentralized video conference thing or froggy.com if you're into streaming, watch or stream.
How do you spell that? How do you spell froggy.com?
Like F
like the animal
ROGY.com, like
okay,
just like a frog, but
froggy.
frog.
Okay, yeah. Just E sometimes could be IE or Y. So
Y,
and sometimes two G's.
Yeah, with
right.
Y. So check us out. Start streaming, earning with that. And thanks for having us today.
Cool. Thank you, guys. And even more importantly, thank you to all of you who have tuned in to watch another episode of the Deep in Coffee Hour. It has been a fantastic episode, so thank you all for that. If you haven't tried Havelo.com yet, go to Havelo.com, download it. Super simple, 3 clicks, you're up and running, easier than Spotify, and you can Airbnb out your unused PC resources. Until next week, thank you again, and be kind to each other out there.
Thanks guys.